What's up, guys? This is Adi with Ritos International, and we're back with a special match preview ahead of our Europa League tie against Rangers. I am joined by Derek from the Rangers Review. He and I had a lovely chat yesterday, and now we're here to bring the Olympiacos side of the match preview to you. We're going to learn everything there is to learn about the Rangers today, some struggles that they've had that have been similar to us, and a lot of similarities in other aspects of the game as well. Before we get to that, of course, Derek, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Ari. Thanks for having me on. It was good to have you on our own podcast yesterday. You spoke very well. So, I'll try and answer as best I can. Rangers not in the best of form just now, but looking forward to the game on Thursday nonetheless.
Absolutely. And before we dive into some of the match preview content, guys, don't forget if you're tuning in, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on audio, hit that 5-star review. The more engagements we get, the more Olympiacos fans we find worldwide. You can also find more content with us on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/307 International. Thank you to our patrons for your support as we try and do bigger and better things. Now, Derek, as we always do with every guest that joins us, kind of give us some background about yourself, your story with football, your connection to football, and then, of course, how you got involved and with the Rangers Review podcast.
Yep, well, my love of Rangers started from the womb pretty much. You're born into it. My dad was a Rangers fan. His dad was a Rangers fan. So there was only ever going to be one team for me, of course. So grew up a Rangers supporter. Like everyone, Ari, you always have a dream of becoming a professional footballer yourself, but soon found
Yeah.
out that that was not going to be the case. But always loved the game and, studied journalism at university and I've worked different jobs covering football for a number of years now. So, culminating in the Rangers Review, which you can find me now, which was launched just a little over 3.5 years ago now. Where we cover Rangers in detail. It's a website and a YouTube channel covering the club, myself and a few others, and it's done terrifically well. To be honest, despite Rangers it's not really the best at times to cover Rangers, given that they have been poor. I mean, they won the league, and then we launched the YouTube channel and the website, and since then they've not won a league title. But the support to the channel and the website has been superb. It's long may it continue. We like to cover Rangers in more in-depth ways you normally find elsewhere, and it's grown from strength to strength. So thoroughly enjoying it, Ari. You get to travel and watch Rangers, which is great stuff. Went to the Malmo game, which was fantastic. I don't think many expected Rangers to win over there. I won't be travelling to Greece myself, but we've got one of my colleagues is heading out there, so I'm a tad jealous, I have to say. More so for the sunshine he's going to be subjected to more than anything else. But it's always good fun reporting on Rangers, despite the product on the pitch not being the best just now.
We've definitely been through that. With this project is now in its 4th year, and we've witnessed before this season, of course, some very turbulent times here. So trust me, we understand that
Yeah.
entirely. But when you cover the club you love, it's what do they say? If you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life in that respect. So
Yeah.
that's always how it goes. Now, let's talk about Rangers. Let's talk about how things have been going for you this season. Yesterday, when you and I spoke, Rangers seem to be having some similar domestic issues as Olympiacos has. We show up for our European games, but in Greece, for some reason, we haven't been able to get it together against teams that we should be beating. For Olympiacos, we've been horribly inefficient. We create plenty of chances, we just can't finish them. I had a quick look at some power rankings for the Rangers, and you guys it's very similar again to kind of what Olympiacos is dealing with in regards to like how little how high your xG is, how little attempts you allow on target versus the number of goals you concede. So tell us a little bit about Rangers struggles domestically.
Yeah, the form has fallen off a cliff. Philip Clement came in round about this, well, just about 13 months ago now. He replaced Michael Beale. The team were well and truly out of the title race, and he got that new manager bounce when he came in. I'm not sure if it was just a different voice or as we heard from players and the manager at the time, they simplified things and integrated members of the squad that didn't feel that they were involved enough. And Rangers, all of a sudden, from 8 points behind, were leading the way in the title race. Then they went up to Ross County up in Dingwall and lost by 3-2 in that game. I think it was 3-2 or 3-1. They then went to Dundee and drew that game, and then before you know it, Celtic have reclaimed top spot, and Rangers have fallen away, and they ended up losing the title by some way in the end. Celtic ran away with it. So the pressure was on Philippe Clement this season. He has spoken about this on numerous occasions. It is part of a rebuild. Rangers lost several experienced campaigners in the summer for free. Their player trading model has been non-existent in the last few years. They've not made any money on a number of assets that have been allowed to run down their contracts and move on for free. And he's trying to bring in younger players and reduce the overall age of the squad. The players that have been brought in need time. He's spoken about this, and the Rangers fans are getting a bit irate and a bit peed off by him bringing this up constantly, because we're now in November. The players should have gelled by now and know each other's names and what have you, but he struggled. They kicked off the campaign away to Hearts, and it was a 0-0 draw over at Tynecastle. And since then, they've dropped points. They lost to Kilmarnock away from home when they had an opportunity to cut the gap at the top to 3 points. 2 points, I think it was, and they lost that game. They also lost heavily at Parkhead against Celtic. Philippe Clement yet to win an Old Firm derby, and you'll often hear in Glasgow, if you don't, a Rangers manager that can't beat Celtic is no use to Rangers. So the pressure is very much on him ahead of course, they won again against Motherwell in the League Cup semi-final over the weekend. They will now play Celtic in the League Cup final on the 15th of December. Rangers fans a tad concerned about that game, because Rangers do need to increase their levels massively if they're to win that and retain the trophy. They beat Celtic at Ibrox over the course of New Year. That game is huge. They now find themselves, they lost last midweek to Aberdeen. Another turgid performance in the main. Aberdeen have started off like a train, and they actually lead the Premiership table alongside Celtic. They've been going great guns under their new boss, Jimmy Tillin from Sweden. And Rangers now find themselves 9 points behind both Celtic and Aberdeen, which is unacceptable, and league form has to improve. It can cite injuries and new players coming in, but the Rangers fans that you speak to are not happy with what they're watching on the park. It's become a chore to go and watch Rangers. It's boring football, long ball stuff, no real creativity in the Rangers side. And the XG that you touched on there, Ari, it's just fallen away and dropped off a cliff, really. Rangers concede a lot of opportunities to the opposition. And like you touched on yesterday with Olympiacos, they do struggle against teams that play that low block. You don't necessarily concern yourself too much in Europe, because teams more often than not come out and have a go, and that plays into Rangers' hands. So I'd imagine that may be the case on Thursday night. But certainly domestically, Rangers have had a pretty disastrous season so far.
So talk to me a little bit about Rangers' typical tactics. Yesterday I had told you that Olympiacos, we approach the game the same way, both in Greece and in Europe. Of course, our players show up more in Europe, but our strategy is very much offense by defense. We press, and we hope that the press will materialize our opportunities. Otherwise, in most cases, especially in Greece, our buildup is lacking. And creativity has also been a huge criticism by many in the fan base, because most of what we will do when we play against these deeper blocks is we will just cross. We'll cross the ball and hope we can find a head in the midfield. We don't have a lot of players that can unlock some of these lower block defenses. How do Rangers approach these games? Is there a difference between how they approach Europe and Scotland, or is it similar to Olympiacos, you approach the same?
It's exact same. That sounds very much like Rangers, and that has been a criticism of Clement, that he's built a team that is comfortable playing in Europe, but in Scottish football, it doesn't work. And that is why they find themselves 9 points behind. You don't get the time on the ball as you do in Europe, as you do against the likes of, as I touched on there, Dundee, Ross County, and those sort of teams where they're right in your face. It's their cup final, and you need to find that creative spark from somewhere. Like you say, with the Olympiacos with crosses into the box, that's another bugbear of many Rangers fans, that pumping the ball into the box in hope more than anything else. And Philippe Clement likes to play that 4-2-3-1 formation. He doesn't deviate from that. He was quizzed last week whether he would consider a change in formation, and he said it would bring more doubt onto the team. And he believes in the style of play. It served him well previously when he won the league title in Belgium with two different teams. He adopted that approach with Monaco before he was dismissed, and it doesn't look like he's going to change that anytime soon. So it relies on a front man that can link play up, that can drag defenders out of position, and unfortunately in Cyril Dessers, Rangers have someone that doesn't do that. Now he scored a goal. He ended a barring goal drought at the weekend, and he got Rangers back level against Motherwell. But the improvement when Danilo was brought back on, he's someone that has been heavily plagued by injury since he arrived at the club last season. Had a real bad knee injury that kept him out for probably close to a year. He came off the bench and things looked immediately better. He was linking play up. He was played an important role in Rangers' second goal, the decisive one, when he dragged defenders away to allow Nadim Bayrami to get the ball into the back of the net, courtesy of a deflection. But Rangers up top are powder puff at this moment in time in terms of creativity. There is very little of that. Nadim Bayrami has been playing out left. He was brought in to play in the number 10 role. We haven't really seen him there yet. Part of that is due to injuries to some left wingers at Rangers, Rabi Matondo, Oscar Cortez. God knows when they're going to be back. And Rangers have had to play Bayrami over on the left. There's not much pace in this Rangers team other than Jefte, the Brazilian left back. There has been calls to perhaps push him up one. He is comfortable playing left wing. But again, Rangers haven't really got many replacements in at left back just now. Rıdvan Yılmaz, the Turkish left back, has been injured for quite some time. He's another one that's been injury plagued. So Jefte's been playing left back, but he's the only one with real pace. It can burst past a defender, get by a player. So it is an issue for Rangers, and it's easy for teams to play against them when they're just facing up and they're just lumping balls into the penalty area.
It's so funny, some of the similarities. You have a coach that's very rigid in his tactics, in his structure, very much like ours, does not change. The only time he's ever changed was against Lyon. Other than that, he's very rigid in the structure and how he approaches games, only changing personnel. And you already touched on something I was going to ask you about as well. As you and I talked about yesterday, Olympiacos, especially when we commit numbers forward, we have been very susceptible on the counter, especially when the midfield and our fullback can get bypassed. So speed on the flanks can kill us, especially when you're transitioning into our half or into the final third. So the fact that maybe there's not quite as much speed on the Rangers side gives me a little bit of some confidence, because maybe we won't be quite as punished if we make some of those mistakes. Maybe the players will be able to recover. Now, it's also funny that you bring up a fullback being used as a winger, because we most likely in this game, our starting right back, Brazilian Rodinei, will be most likely playing right wing as well because of some of the creativity issues and our inability to break into the penalty area. He's been a player that has, when we pushed him further forward, has done very well and has looked probably like our second best winger so far outside of Gelson Martins. So that's just so funny to hear that there's so many similarities in the approach to this game that will be taken by both sides. Now, let me ask you, as far as weaknesses, what do you believe will be one of the biggest advantages Olympiacos can pursue? I've seen plenty of Rangers fans talking about your central defense. And the issues there? Is that an area that Olympiacos, we like to target center backs anyway with the press. That's part of the restart philosophy with the press, is to go after the center backs to begin the press trap, as we say. So what can we expect from the center back?
Depends who plays. I'd imagine John Souttar will be one of the starters. It depends who plays alongside him. Leon Balogun has been preferred of late. He is 36, so he came off with cramp at the weekend, but he is a solid enough defender. Narecio Cashinwirjo, the Dutch under-21 international, came on for him, and there's been calls for him to get more game time. He had to be patient during his time at Rangers so far after arriving from Feyenoord in the summer, but I would be tempted to play him alongside John Souttar. He provides that little bit of physicality in there. He's comfortable on the ball. We may see Robin Proper coming back in. It's not quite happened for him. I was talking about the difference between European football and Scottish football. Well, Proper hasn't handled the physicality of Scottish football at all since he arrived. Now, he came with a decent reputation. He was captain of 20 last season, but he's been too lightweight. That being said, you don't necessarily concern yourself too much in Europe, because I think you will get time on the ball to spray passes and come out from the back. So we could see him return to the side for this game. But there's no doubt about it, the Rangers defence is gettable. The right-hand side is a problem. That being that Rangers captain James Tavernier, who's been synonymous with this competition down the years. He was a top goal scorer in it when Rangers reached the final in Seville a few seasons ago. His legs have gone, and on Sunday against Motherwell, the manager made the call to remove him from the side, which was a big decision, because he has played him pretty much consistently this season. He has been rested for one game, but more often than not, the captain plays. But it's clear for all to see that he's nowhere near the level that he used to be. And there was a feeling in the summer that he should have moved on. Rangers knocked a bid back from Trabzonspor in Turkey. I think they were fully expecting him to come back in, and he never. So he has been playing at right back, and it's a weak link. Often teams target Rangers' right-hand side, and it depends if he plays on Thursday. Personally, I'd have Dujon Sterling in. He came on for Tavernier at the weekend, and immediately he gave Rangers legs and energy on that right-hand side. Now, I touched on injury-plagued players earlier. He's another one that's been plagued by injuries, little niggles here and there, but he was brought in as a right-back initially from Stoke City. In fact, from Chelsea, I think he was on loan at Stoke, and he has certainly looked, but he hasn't played in his in that position that he was brought to the club in the first place. He's been sort of Mr. Versatile, been played in midfield, left wing, right wing, all sorts of places, but right back because of James Tavernier. But I think for the future going forward, Dujon Sterling is the man that Rangers should be looking at in that right-hand side. Having said that, do I see Philippe Clement dropping the captain on Thursday? I would be surprised if he did that. So if Olympiacos have got a decent left winger, then that is a problem area for Rangers, and it's something that I'd hope the manager and the coaching staff would look to negate by possibly putting Dujon out there on the right-hand side of midfield, or someone else at right back to cope with that.
So that's making me actually think it will be a very juicy matchup for Gelson Martins. When Rodinei is playing right wing, Gelson is by far and away our best winger. He is right now the most creative player really that we have into that final third. And against Malmo, they had no answers for him. He was cutting through, able to anything he did, he could be dangerous because Malmo had no answers for him. So if there's some struggles on that right side, that makes me think it'll be very juicy for a player like Gelson. And then we also have Christopher Velde, who's finally looking like he's finding some form. He also plays on the left as an inverted winger. And if he's given space, he can score. He's scored, or he's had goal contributions in his last 3 games. And hopefully he would probably come on as a substitution. So maybe that's another opportunity there for him to try and take advantage of that Rangers right side. So I do like to hear that. Now, talk to me about we'll say the threat men of Rangers. Who are the players that, as it stands, will probably be the most likely to do something against Olympiacos?
Well, I touched on Danilo earlier, having come on and
Yes.
made an impact from the bench. Unfortunately, he's not part of the European squad, so that is a big headache for many. It looks like Cyril Dessers will be leading the line. Now, Hamza Igaman, another player they brought in the summer from Moroccan football, he has started a couple of games, but he doesn't look like he's ready to start matches. There's certainly talent there, but I would be surprised if they started him. So it looks like Dessers will get the nod. Dessers, he's one of those guys. I think he scored 7 goals this season, but as I touched on, he ended his goal drought over the weekend. But a decent finish from him. But in the main, he drives Rangers supporters up the wall, just with basic footballing abilities, unable to link play. His second touch is usually a tackle, very clumsy on the ball, and more often than not, moves break down when the ball is played up to him. So Rangers need him to be on his game. Now, he is capable of moments of brilliance. Rangers last season went to Real Betis and he scored a goal that the original R9 would have been proud of. I was watching it from the stands and I almost passed out in disbelief at what was unfolding before my eyes. So Rangers need him to produce a Betis-style performance. Other than that, the danger men, Nadim Bayrami, as I touched on, as much as I would like him at number 10, probably more likely be out on the left-hand side again, but he is capable of real moments of quality. That was why Rangers spent a bit of money to bring him in from Italian football in the summer. So he's someone, if you're Olympiacos, you'll be telling your defenders to keep an eye on. Over on the right-hand side, it remains to be seen who Rangers will play out there. In fact, I know who they'll play. Václav Černý, who's in form at the moment. He's on loan from Wolfsburg. And he's probably Rangers' main threat just now. Ever since he missed an open goal against Lyon, a chance that he said that kept him up during the night. He was waking up in cold sweats thinking about it. He's been on fire, really. He scored 2 against FCSB, 2 well-taken goals, and he's been in good form. He set up the second goal at the weekend, and he was instrumental in the first goal as well. So he's certainly someone that is coming onto a game. So I'd say out wide, Bayrami and Černý are Rangers most likely to cause a bit of damage on Thursday.
Absolutely. It's definitely very good insight to have. Now, let me ask regarding your defensive setup, your press. Olympiacos, we press high, and the press is going to be very intense, especially in the early intervals. Do Rangers approach these European games with a very high press, or is it going to be more mid-block? Are you going to raise the line? How is that going to look?
More often than not, Rangers come out the traps in the first 10 minutes. You'll see them pressing high. That's what they did against Malmo. Got a goal within the first 30 seconds or something like that. And that really set them on their way. But other than that, I can see them being very conservative, sitting in that mid block probably. Like I say, they've been very direct, Rangers. That's one of the criticisms of Philippe Clement, certainly domestically, that they do often go route one. I'm not opposed to that, but it doesn't help when your main striker is unable to hold the ball up. So it's all eyes will be on him if Rangers are looking to do that. I think they will be a tad conservative given the quality of opposition they're coming up against in the arena that they're going to as well. So I'd imagine that'll be pretty much like a chess match on Thursday night. See who sort of strikes first, sizing each other up, I would imagine. But Rangers in Europe, as I touched on, you don't normally usually concern yourselves because they are capable of going. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever for Rangers to go out there on Thursday and get a result and then lose on Sunday when they come back against Hearts. That's they're pretty much a very schizophrenic sort of side, Rangers. You can't decide which Rangers are going to turn up. But certainly in Europe, they've had some good results. And even under Clement last season, as I touched on the Betis game where they won, and that made sure that they won the group. They were very unlucky not to defeat Benfica over there in the knockout phase. It was a 2-2 draw in the end, but they played very well. This season, they got a draw against Dynamo Kyiv. They really should have done better than that game, in all honesty. And then away in Malmo, it was 2-0 going on 6 or 7. Really, Rangers were really impressive that night. So I think they will be dangerous, Rangers. I don't think they'll go gung-ho. Perhaps the first 10 minutes, as they normally do, they like to get in the faces of the opposition, but then sort of gradually sit back into a mid to low block at times, and they'll look to hit on the counter, I would say.
So if you are the Olympiacos staff looking into this match, would you be similarly the way we tell everybody now, if you want to beat us, low block? Is that the same way to approach Rangers, low block?
Yeah, probably, yeah, and ask the Rangers to come on and do something. That's where we're talking about creativity, and they lack that, Rangers just now. Players playing out of position in the main, as I touched on, the centre forwards issue just now. So it's a problem for Rangers. So that's how we were saying earlier on, get your money on a goalless draw. I think I would take that right now and then move on. Rangers have got huge matches coming up. I mean, Thursday night is a big game, and some supporters are looking at Europe and maybe sort of disregarding it this season. They look at the league table and the club is 9 points behind. It's unacceptable. They need to get their house in order in the league. Europe is Europa League in the main has been a competition that served Rangers well down the years. They've got their reputation back, but it's not the priority now, I don't think. So if they can get a result on Thursday, then great. But win, lose or draw, I think the bigger game this week is Hearts on Sunday.
Yeah, the context around our Europa League success is also something that's kind of hotly talked about, because fortunately we're only 3 points back in the table, so it's not over by any stretch for us. But after this match, we have an away derby against BAUK, who's also in the right now ahead of the table, more ahead in the table than we are. They're tied for first place. So we go away to BAUK, and then the next game we're home again, another derby against AEK. So we have this match and then 2 derbies that will really set the tone for the Greek league. And this is our 100-year anniversary season. The expectation is that we need to win the Greek league. We cannot go a third season in a row without winning the Greek league. So a lot of, most fans will say, look, if we're going to lose the Greek league, we have to win the Europa League. And that's, this isn't, it's a lot different. So
yeah, it's going to be tough. There's a lot of good sides in it. Even when Rangers punched above their weight in the season, they got to Seville. I mean, I can't see that happening again in the near future. That's for sure. Wouldn't mind if they dropped into the Conference League right enough, like you guys. I think that's probably Scottish team's best chance of glory in Europe these days. But it's one of those. Europa League, I mean, they missed out in the Champions League. Rangers, I touched on there. The Dynamo Kyiv game is one that was a big missed opportunity. Jefty was set off, one of the worst red cards I've ever seen in my life. It really cost them that evening. But they've missed out on the financial benefits that come with that. Celtic being in that competition doesn't help in terms of trying to close the gap in the financial difference and the benefits they have from winning matches and gaining points and revenue from that competition. So, Rangers very much playing catch up at this moment in time.
Yes. Well, we'll see what happens on Thursday. It's going to be a very, very interesting match. It's going to be one of those chess matches, especially on the defensive side of things. And I could definitely see it being in a match that's going to drive fans insane. Very gritty match. I'm just midfield battle. I'm just seeing it right now, and I'm just seeing both sets of fans just losing their minds because those types of matches aren't always the most appealing to watch.
Yeah.
Now, Derek, when we bring guests on for pre-match, we always ask for a prediction. So you and I talked about before that this seems like it has maybe 0-0 kind of written all over it. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I said no, but the Rangers' defence concerns me, Ari. So I think Olympiacos will score. I'm going to go 1-1. Apologies for sitting on the fence for that one, but given what you've told me and what I've gleaned from Olympiacos and Rangers in Europe, then I think a draw would probably be the likely outcome. I think that'll be something that will certainly help Philippe Clement, who's a man under pressure at this moment in time. But it's all about avoiding a pumping at all possible costs. If you can do that, and then you can look into the game against Hearts on Sunday, where he needs a win. So yeah, as long as Rangers avoid a heavy defeat, I'm going 1-1.
I'm actually also thinking 1-1 because I could see Olympiacos getting the lead early, but then when the substitutions come on, Jose Luis Mendilibar has this infatuation with playing veteran Danny Garcia. That's his pick over the summer, a veteran to replace Vicente Iborra, who we lost. He was a very important veteran presence, and Danny Garcia is just not there, but he loves to play him. And the second he gets in the midfield, we will concede opportunity. So I could see the second he is introduced in the game, you guys get one of those counters, and then things end up in a 1-1, and everybody is upset with the draw at home. So I could see that 100%.
Yep, like I said, I'd take that right now. A draw, and let's move on. Rangers have got some big matches coming up. Like I said, off air, Ari. I mean, they were in pot 1, but they've got coming against. We've already lost against Lyon, but we've got Manchester United on the horizon in the new year. Tottenham Hotspur at Ibrox next month as well, which is just a few days before that League Cup final. So yeah, big tests on the way for Rangers.
Absolutely. Derek, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the insight for the Rangers. Please tell the audience where they can follow you, what the projects you're doing, and where they can see more about Rangers content.
Yeah, well, like I say, we're a YouTube channel, Rangers Review. Just type that into YouTube and you'll find some of the stuff we do on there. We've got a daily show in the morning where we cover all the Rangers news. Or you can find us on Twitter or X, as it's now known. Just type in Rangers Review and it'll pop up. Or you can see my handle on there as well on the screen. So, yeah, if you want to learn more about Glasgow Rangers, then by all means come over and have a look.
Awesome. Well, Jarek, thank you again so much. Can't wait to see. It's 2 days away. Always itching, excited for these European nights. So we're super excited for that. Thank you again for joining and giving us the insight. I'm Adi. This is Theros International, by the fans for the fans, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.